Previously on Drone Wars.
Dictators always tell you what they're going to do before they do it. Putin said he's going to go invade Ukraine before he did it. They told Putin, no, you're not.
Yeah.
And then he did it.
Yeah.
They're starting, I think Europe and Asia is starting to get serious. Because in peacetime, defense is a jobs program, right? And it's a means for politicians to be bribed. Well, now people are scared.
There's literally an industry group in DC called Cockroaches. Every 4 years when an election cycle happens, it's like a nuclear bomb going off and you get all of this transition, all of this turnover. But just like when a nuclear bomb goes off, what's the thing that survives? The cockroaches.
Right.
Hi, I'm Chris Donaghey. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Applied Energetics and the Executive Chairman and co-founder of the Silicon Valley Defense Group.
Hey, I'm James Cross, Franklin Templeton, co-head of private investing, space and defense lead, and one of the founders and board members of Silicon Valley Defense Group. So you want to talk about counter-drone?
I want to talk about just unmanned in general.
Okay, unmanned, attritable, software-driven, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I want to hear you tell the story because you're building some really cool technology.
Yeah, so first of all, for small drones, there's no silver bullet. You know, you're not going to buy one system that solves all of your small drone problems. It's going to have to be a layered defense type of approach. And so the question is, can you build an effective layered defense system that has as an element something that has a small size, weight, and power, a low cost? You can plug it into the prime power of any platform that you have. You don't have to bring a generator with you. You don't have to have all of this excess infrastructure, and you can move. You're going to have something like that because those things are going to have to protect those systems that are those big behemoth type things. And so we're taking an approach that specifically focuses on solving a size, weight, and power problem for the use of a laser against an ISR target of some kind. And
nobody believes lasers are going to work. Counter-drone.
That's exactly right.
Can you explain why your laser will work?
Yeah, no, you're exactly
on behalf
right.
of a skeptical nation.
This is the James Cross podcast.
So we're skeptics as well. But a 20 kilowatt laser is just a big, fat, juicy target. You have to stop, you have to set it up, you have to turn the thing on, and you get to use it for 20 minutes, and then you have to turn it off. Yeah. And the way you defeat that is you take your drone swarm, you line them up, and you just fly them right down the barrel of the laser, and it kills you before you have a chance to kill all of them. So the approach that we've taken is not to do a system kill, we are doing a mission kill.
Bingo.
So for small drones, there's only two reasons why you use those. One is surveillance, pop it up over the hill, see if there's a bad guy there, tell what you saw, and then you launch the second small drone, which has a little explosive, that's then going to go try to hit a moving target.
Yep.
In every case, whether it's a human pilot or an AI pilot, it's going to have to fly by sight. It's going to have to do, even the AI pilot's going to have some sort of image recognition capability that's going to match, is that a tank or is it an ambulance or is it a school bus? So if you can kill the sensors at a tactical range, we can't say what range we're targeting. We can just say it's beyond a kilometer. But if you can kill the cameras beyond a kilometer, the mission's over. Clearly, if it's a surveillance mission, you're done. But even the small drones with the explosives, the pilot has zero chance of hitting a moving target if you have taken out the eyes of the system, a kilometer away.
Metallica wrote an album about that. It's called Ride the Lightning. and in your laser, the lightning rides your laser, right?
That was the first iteration of the company. This is just pure light.
Okay.
This is just pure light.
So you don't ride the lightning anymore.
No. So it's an ultra short pulse laser. It'll be about the size of 2 shoe boxes. It'll use about the same amount of electricity as a garage door opener, and it has a peak power of 50 billion watts.
The first album was Kill 'Em All, so I guess that's what you're doing.
Yeah,
now.
that's right.
Okay.
Kill all the cameras anyway.
Yeah, the cameras.
And then the camera fades to black.
Are we done? Because this is the best podcast ever. Heavy metal defense tech. Let's go.
Another beer.
And we'll be able to build them cheaply. So you could buy 15 of our systems for the price of one 20 kilowatt laser. So you can set these things up as a picket fence out front, and you don't care if you lose one.
How far away are we from putting this in the field to test?
Yeah. So back to your point of the demo is everything.
Yeah.
The demo is everything. So we've spent the last 6 years, in some cases, just building the science behind this laser, because the idea is it has to survive in a rugged environment. Yeah. There are commercial lasers that have similar performance parameters, but you could never put them in the field. They would fail. Mm-hmm. So we've had to develop a lot of the science around how do you trick telecom commercial fiber into doing things that it doesn't necessarily want to do. So right now we are in the process of building out a battle lab and customer demonstration center near our headquarters in Tucson. By the middle of the year, I expect to be firing 5 different colors of lasers in there that address everything from visible sensors to near infrared, shortwave infrared, midwave infrared, longwave infrared. If there's a camera on the battlefield, we're building a laser to kill it.
Can we put it on my drone?
Eventually, yes.
Great.
So because that's going to be a close-in application, right? You're not going to need a tactical range for something like that. You're going to be pretty close. And I would say right now we probably have a version that we could stick into a backpack. And then once we start to move towards photonics on a chip, it'll absolutely go there. So
you're building this. We're talking about it. Are our adversaries building anything similar?
Well, I could tell you where a lot of the scientific research papers came from that we're using to design those design those lasers.
Southern
China. To my knowledge, no one else is doing it. Even inside DoD,
sure.
I mean, there have been 3 contracts awarded to try out an ultra short pulse laser as a directed energy system for a DoD customer, and we've won all 3 of them. Mm-hmm. It's not even a crumb of the budget, though. There's all of the money has gone into the continuous wave lasers because we were always concerned about shooting down Russian ICBM or Russian missiles. That's where all of the money went to. So now that the battlefield is shifting towards things that have more sensitive electronics, you can look at a different approach, but we're kind of behind because we haven't invested in this technology. The Germans have the best ultra short pulse lasers on the planet. And they have multiple companies that build ultra short pulse lasers, but they're all using those for commercial applications like advanced manufacturing, metal processing, things like that. They're good lasers. They're not ruggedizable.
Right. Okay. So we get a battle lab and a demo mid-year this year.
Mid-year.
Right. I mean, I can see this being on almost any type of expeditionary vehicle
That's have. Right. It's being designed to fit on anything from a Navy ship down to the Polaris Razor side-by-sides that the special ops guys use.
Yeah.
And even a version that you could put into a backpack if you're a special military
Can we
operator.
get it on some Saronic Corsairs and some Overland little, or whatever they call
100%.
it? What does Overland call their vehicle? It's a Ripsaw. That's a pretty good name. Yeah.
That
sounds like a WWF wrestling kind of.
I think he was on NWO, but he might have been on WCW.
This guy's bringing the elbow off the top rope, man.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh,
that's the future.
M5.
Little robots with great mission packages, and the private capital's trying to get there before Lockheed Martin takes the entire market.
Yeah. Why isn't like a prime coming in and just gobbling everybody up right now?
It's about technology risk reduction. They are perfectly happy to let us small guys
burn all the capital,
solve all the technical problems, and then just as you're about to crest the wave and get the big contracts, they put a number in front of you and poof, you're gone.
You got the corp dev guy from a prime here who used to be a defense banker.
Yeah.
Can't you just say they can't afford us?
But they can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the stupid part is they've spent years and years buying back their own stock, paying down debt. I mean, they produce more cash than they know what to do with.
Oh, I know.
Paying $4 billion for Saronic, once they get a big contract, that won't be a problem.
Interesting.
I'm excited.
You heard it here first.
As a Saronic investor, can I get 8? I could hit my RR targets.
It's just what they do. I mean, when I became an equity research analyst in the early 2000s, the first slide in the pitch that I took to leadership was everyone should own every small cap defense technology stock that exists because they don't last. They don't last because they get bought. So you've obviously got enough scale to be able to go public for the most part, which means you've solved a lot of the technical problems. And then ultimately the primes can't help themselves because they generate too much cash. You can only buy back so much stock. So let's go find something else to do with it.
You sound like an old guy when you talk that way. And here's the problem. So me and Chris have been doing defense investing, me since 98, you what, 03, something like that. When the old guys try to explain to the young folks how things used to be, they get bored and tell us, well, things are different now. So we'll see. I don't know which side of that bet I'd take. I bet on the cockroaches.
When do you think they open up their wallets? I mean, there's a lot of small companies. Do you think it's the next 2 or 3 years we start seeing acquisitions? Or why doesn't Anduril just come and buy everyone who's south of 150, give them some stock?
Because Anduril's smart enough to know most VC-backed defense tech companies are worthless.
Yeah. And so when they fail, they'll grab the tech for pennies on the dollar if they want it.
Well,
Anduril has become a VC themselves, right? I mean...
No, they're more of they're private equity. They're buyouts. They're not VC. They're not doing minority investing.
Well, but they are taking big swings every time they buy something. I mean...
But it's with stock for the most part.
Yeah, right. Yep, exactly.
Look, Anduril's different. Mm-hmm. They're a well-run company. Mm-hmm. If you look at the NatSec 100, the quality of management team, and it's not a knock on these entrepreneurs other than yourself, they have no experience. I mean, where do you go? Like if you're in SaaS, there's a new wave of software every 5 years since the dawn of time. In defense tech, where did you earn your spurs? Because you can't come out of outside of CCM Astro, talking my own book again, I can't really think of a successful defense tech startup that spun out of a prime. So that model doesn't work. And that's how it works in the rest of the world. Yeah. You ditch your job at Google or Amazon or Apple, not actually nobody ever leaves Apple, to go do a startup.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. If you're going Andreessen Horowitz to American Dynamism and you're pitching, we have a very experienced team who worked at Northrop Grumman for 25 years, you're probably not going to get funded.
Drone Wars is recorded from Firestorm's global headquarters in San Diego, California. Each episode is filmed inside our X-Cell, a modular industrial-grade manufacturing facility designed to be deployed anywhere in the world within 24 hours for on-demand drone production. Each week on the podcast, we bring you cutting-edge insights from unmanned industry leaders. Listen as they share the breakthroughs and technologies they're working on, the hard lessons they've learned, and the bold predictions about what the next 5 to 10 years in unmanned systems and advanced manufacturing have in store for us. Enjoying the show so far? Then be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Now back to the show. Gene Ray, who was my mentor, right?
Talk about telling old guy stories.
Yeah, no kidding.
He was my mentor. I had an 80-year-old mentor, but he told me he was pulling teeth with Wall Street at the time. So this is probably in the 90s.
Oh, I was one of Gene's biggest investors, so I'm with you here.
He was pulling teeth to get him to basically start spinning startups out of Titan at the time.
Yeah, I remember that. Gene has some interesting
still have
ideas.
the book on my bookshelf, The Legend of the Titan Corporation, signed by Gene Ray.
Will you send me a copy of that or let me read it?
Yeah.
I need to get that one. I'll put that in is that in the NatSec?
The required reading list.
Merit, are we keeping track of all these books we're talking about here?
Yeah. For people who only read one book a year, this is going to take like 15 years to get through the list, right?
Yeah.
The robots will probably run the world at that point.
I know. We'll just retire and we'll get the government. What do they call that when the government gives you free money to live? It's not welfare. It's
UBI, Universal
Basic Income. So
I thought you were making a joke about the primes getting free money to live or something like that.
Yeah, when I talk on panels, I'm bored of myself on panels.
Yeah.
But the publicly traded defense stocks are the highest performing sector on Wall Street since World War II.
So you just got to get in and hold.
There's something good about being a defense company in the United States.
Yeah.
But it's pretty hard to break into that club, right? They don't want this is the best club to be in if you're into generating returns over the long run and the members of the club aren't taking new applicants.
They will do everything possible to not let you in.
Right. It's not going to be a smooth ride.
Yep.
It's not going to be a smooth ride because you will inevitably end up with one program that accounts for a significant percentage of your revenue.
Yep.
And every 5 years it gets recompeted.
Yep.
And you're going to lose one of those recompetes, and then you'll do your turn in the barrel and you figure it out and you come back and you recover. But we know there was some serious pain back in the mid 2000s, late 2000s, because each circumstance was different, but they all kind of went through a period of time where it just wasn't great. But inevitably, Raytheon calls.
I mean, to answer your question on what do the primes do, they have these VC arms. Two of them are really good at it, do a lot. That's Raytheon and Lockheed Martin.
Glad I have one of those on my cap table.
Yeah, I mean, one of them is my LP. We have a saying at SVG, we love all guys' children because we're out here trying to help the ecosystem. Even though this ecosystem needs winners, you want an even playing field. So we're working on the playing field side of things. TBD, what they do with these giant portfolio of minority venture investments. The rest of the primes and SIs are now getting in. Like GD they were Nepris, right? I think. So they've done their first or second venture deal. Northrop, if you go meet with Kathy, she'll tell you we're never doing any venture. I mean, okay. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Boo set up their venture arm now. SCIC is working with a third-party GP that may or may not be sitting at this table. So I think they're doing that because their boards tell them to, and I think that the customer wants them to because they set up DIU and Congress is all about innovation, blah, blah, blah. I'm not sure they know what to do strategically with all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued to see how that plays out. Lockheed's done some creative things, trying to do bigger scale financing and partnerships. What's that? What's the Lockheed deal that was
Terran Orbital?
Yeah, the Terran Orbital thing, for example. So that'll be interesting because he used to do corp dev at one of them, and one of our closest friends does it at Anduril. These firms are M&A machines, right? And they're used to all the defense makers just bringing them a buffet of deals, and they get to pick through it at their leisure. Emerging tech is different. And those M&A teams and those M&A lawyers do not know how to hustle and chase the very best deals because they think they're in a catbird seat, and the very best deals just get brought to them by Goldman Sachs. So that's exciting to me to okay, can you retool your corp dev, corp strat function and thrive off of this new emerging tech wave?
Yeah, so when Adam and I stood up the corporate venture activity at SAIC.
You're referring to Adam Porter Price.
Adam Porter Price.
APP.
Yeah. APP. Yeah.
Great guy.
It was the easiest sell to the SAIC board ever because it was, guys, we should never buy these companies. They're too early stage. We would destroy them if we tried to integrate them into the SAIC culture. But we need to find a way to be involved in emerging technologies. And this is the simplest way to do it. And, the board was like, why didn't you do this yesterday?
Interesting.
And at Franklin Templeton, we're very thankful that the SCIC board directed them to partner with the third-party GP. We have corporate investors, and we can run their CVC. We can help them build their CVC. We can help them grow their CVC. We think it's a great model. You get the best of. It's kind of a private-public partnership.
Right.
Just a little plug for my day job there.
That was a great plug.
Yeah.
And you can rinse and repeat that, huh?
Yeah, I mean, we think it gives us a strategic advantage. I mean, the incumbents aren't going anywhere. Everybody can talk about Anduril is going to become the next Lockheed Martin. No, they're not. I mean, in the industrial hardware world, the incumbents don't disappear overnight like they do in software because they have these installed bases, the capital equipment. You got the services and spares in the warehouse, the spare parts, and blah, 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 blah. So
shipyards,
they're still going to be around.
Factories and tank factories.
I mean, you've got a corporate in your cap table. Like, this is different. If you're an e-commerce company or software or fintech, you just want GC, Lightspeed, Andreessen. But if you're in our world, then you probably want connectivity.
I try and explain this to every young defense founder, and they think that Well, I'd say the response is one of two. One, it's we know what we're doing. Sure you do.
Because you've done it before so many times successfully.
Tell you about a big pack fleet contract that disappeared because we didn't have a an 800-pound gorilla on our side 10 years ago. Or they're like, well, they're just gonna like gobble us up. And I'm like, no, there's absolutely a middle ground there where we've applied to hundreds of millions of dollars of contracts with Lockheed in the last year. And some were prime and some like they're prime. It's about 50-50 split. It all just depends on like how we're looking at it. But guess what? They have access to the customer that a lot of small companies don't. It is incredible when you have that right partnership and there's trust and you resource it on your end accordingly, right? To show up to the demos with them, to get in front of the staff. What happens?
Yeah, so that goes back to your observation about, how smart are the actual defense tech entrepreneurs. Anyone who says we're just going to go get our own program of record and we're going to make it on our own, they don't know what they're doing. I mean, it's years to get to a standalone program.
And why
of
would
record.
you want one, to be frank?
You know who has the programs of record? The primes. Much easier to become a technology insertion onto an existing program that already has a budget that's planned out for the next 10 years than it is to go create something brand new.
Spend a fortune on Capitol Hill, making sure the money shows up, making sure you don't get kneecapped at the last minute. I mean, it's...
The ABCs,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, going back to the corporate investors, we've been working at Franklin, we've been working with corporate LPs for about 7, 8, 9 years. The problem is every corporate investor thinks they're special and they've got a better idea and they're going to do venture differently. All that means is that they're going to only have access to inferior deals. So if they're going to do things their special way that only they understand, even though they didn't hire any experienced GPs and they've never done venture before, they've got a better idea. And they go in there and they try to do things with their better idea. And the elite tier 0, tier 1 companies are like, no, thank you. We don't like your idea. We would prefer venture capital that works the way venture capital is supposed to work. We're here for scale and speed and flexibility and agility. And if you need to run a bunch of processes to get a decision from your board of directors member on our cap table, we don't need that. And, your compliance headaches are not our compliance headaches. So it's funny, like watching these corporates, and traditionally they all competed on M&A because these are very creative deals. Now they have to compete on entering the emerging tech venture-backed market. They don't know how to do it. And it's like, well, Lockheed and Raytheon have figured it out and now they're just cranking. And everybody else coming in, when we talk to all of them, they're like, well, we have a different idea. We're going to do it differently. We're going to go over here and do it this way. And, they do 1 or 2 deals. They fire that team. They get a new CFO and they're DOA. So one of the things that we try to do with Silicon Valley Defense Group is just kind of put out these emerging tech readiness ideas. And one of the main things we work on is bringing together the finance and the tech community and then helping them understand this policy world we live in. And let's figure it out, do it the right way so more capital can flow to the best entrepreneurs with the best partners, with the best policy tools to support them. But it's laborious. We started SVDG 10 years ago. And it feels like we still got a lot of work to do in the next 10 years.
So where do you see the space going in the next 2 to 5?
Robots everywhere.
Okay.
I mean, the sensors are going to saturate the battlefield. Humans will become less prevalent on the battlefield. It's autonomy.
Produce or die. Yeah. And so the winners will be those who can make a lot of stuff. I mean, everything I'm hearing out of DoD leadership right now at the 4-star level, both currently serving and recently retired, we need to get back to World War II style automobile production line. Low cost, high volume, crank.
Build a ton of SKUs and then at the very end, put the Gucci sensor on it when it comes off the line.
Yeah.
But build a lot of stuff.
I'm excited because today the service leadership cares about what you do. They didn't care 3 to 5 years ago. Congress cared, and some political appointees like Hondo and Roper cared. Today, Admiral Paparo cares, CENTCOM cares, and I think that's going to be the key driver to take this defense technology third wave, I call it, forward. It's 4 stars who want to deploy emerging tech at Moore's law speed onto the battlefield, and I think Hellscape's just the beginning.
All right, last question, guys. What do you wish you know? What do you wish you knew when you started your career that you know now?
Oh,
Go ahead.
hey, Chris, remember how we made all that money in that one
Truck company?
blast-proof truck company, and then
Lost it all?
remember when we tripled our money in 3 months and then we lost 98%? If you don't know what's going on in the Hill and in the building, you should keep your checkbook closed.
Yeah, I mean, there were some really
Because the best tech
positive
don't
lessons.
Nope.
But, I always swore that someday I would end up writing a book about the MRAP program, mainly because it was an example of how you could mobilize industry to do something very, very quickly. But it was also a cautionary tale about being the small company that gets entangled with that doesn't have proven production. You can get run over by the machine because you don't have the scale.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably been the theme that we've been talking about. It's all about scaling right now. Yeah. And, maybe at some point in 2033 or 2043, there's another Last Supper where we've had too much. We're full of defense technology. You guys got to go merge yourselves out of existence. It doesn't feel like we're anywhere close to that right now.
Yeah, I think for he and I mean, we partnered together, put billions of dollars to work in defense tech. He was the sell side, I was the buy side. Yeah, the two case studies for us that bores all the defense entrepreneurs and puts them to sleep. It's MRAPs and it's the Harris radios. And everything these venture-backed defense tech companies are trying to do today, which is develop their own new technology and sell it to the warfighter, that was Harris and their Falcon radios. It's happened before. Commercially developed, software defined, exactly what the warfighter needs, way ahead of the program of record, and you're still a loser because you couldn't break the hold. And that to me, it was like, I remember trying to defend Harris every time somebody came out with a short note.
Joe Nadal.
Because they couldn't find the fucking radios in the budget. And the whole point was, the reason these radios work so well is because they didn't get budgeted for, because the stuff in the budget's 15 years old architecture. So that's
and still paradox. Doesn't exist. Still didn't exist.
Well,
and by the way, that's another example of a company that did spend their own R&D dollars to make the radios and innovate them well ahead of the need. And their EBIT margins were 36, 37, 30. They probably got close to 40% at one point selling radios.
All right, we're boring them with our old guy stories.
No, you're
we
good.
Should probably go now.
I like that story. Thanks for coming, boys.
Thanks for listening to the Drone Wars podcast. Each week, we bring you fascinating conversations with leaders shaping the future of air, sea, land, and space technologies. Catch new episodes every Tuesday wherever podcasts can be found. Until then, we'll see you next time.